Yeah, welcome back. No
Welcome,
Tanner.
friends.
No Tanner on this episode. This is Thursday, October 31.
Happy
Happy
Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah. Did you get to dress up for work?
No.
Sick.
I got
Sick.
lessons tonight, and my players are like, you should wear a costume. I'm like, no.
No, no, not
You
doing
guys can
that.
wear costumes. That's fine. I don't care. But no, I'm not.
Right. Yeah, so we're gonna record just Brooks and I today, and then we'll have I believe an episode we're gonna record on Saturday. Um well, that'd be the second with all three of us. So, um, highlight a couple things here, and then we'll talk a little bit more broad on some things on Saturday. So, yeah, I think the theme of this episode is going to be more a little bit deeper dive on some things that we talked about on the Gear Talk um, that came out on Monday. There were a couple times old Brooksy got a little bit lost in Tanner and I's rumblings. So. We're gonna kind of backtrack it. I listened back to it and I was like, yeah, we kind of went at like 1.5 speed, just like cruise through it and realized maybe Brooks had some more questions in the moment, and so we're gonna like slow her back down to like 3/4 speed and like
Yeah.
maybe take some more time on talking about some things. So um, eventually I do want to kind of get into maybe one episode each talking like way in depth about a certain thing or like a couple of certain things, but um no, I think this one will just kind of backtrack it a little bit and highlight a couple things that you want to focus on more, and so whatever questions you may have accumulated from that. But yeah, I think we'll start with what's the big presser in your mind? And anything?
Well, we'll just start off with this. Well, we'll start off with this first. For those who are new, we could be getting new listeners. I don't know. But for those of the new, I am very still new to archery. So I'm learning. And so don't give me crap. I mean, you can give me crap in the comments. I don't care, but don't give me too much crap. But the new thing, or the thing that's pressing that I've been wanting to, I can't wait to share, is I got a new site. And if you're watching the
Ah,
video version, this is a Trophy Ridge React Trio Pro. So it's a 3-pin slider. And if you can kind of tell, one vertical, two horizontal pins. And yeah. So originally, I just had this. Oh, sorry. This just straight 4-pin that came with my bow on the Ready to Hunt package from Bear Archery, and it did its job. I knew I was gonna get a brand new sight anyways after the season, but yeah, this one was, I've been wanting to get this one for a little while now, and it's Trophy Ridge, and they're obviously partnered with Bear Archery, so I figured might as well try to keep it same and on the sight and the bow. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, Trophy Ridge React uh, Trio React Pro, it is 3-pin slider, and the React technology, essentially you have to sight in your 40 pin, which would be the bottom pin. If you can kind of see that, sorry if I'm blocking anything. The vertical bottom pin. So 20, 30, 40, and then obviously your 40 pin is going to be your slide pin. Um, so you sight in the 40, then you go 50, and then the React technology will essentially just sight in all the way down to 100. And I thought that was pretty cool technology, especially with me being a beginner and learning how to learn to sight in a bow and just make it a little bit easier on mine. Especially like Justin and I were kind of talking about right before we got on, is it comes with sight tapes, and I've never used sight tapes before. So that's going to be interesting, and I'm going to try to figure that out. And I know I'm probably going to screw up a little bit, but that's okay. I'm learning. And you were talking about, so like if I sight in with the arrows I have right now, if I go up or down 25 grains, I'll have to completely resight in again, type of thing. And then if obviously if I'm sighting in here in Colorado and I go hunt with Justin and Tanner down in Tennessee, then I would probably one of the sight tape I use here in Colorado probably won't work there. So that's going to be fun to learn. Um, yeah, that's kind of the big thing I wanted to show everybody. I'm pretty fired up for it.
Yeah,
So,
it's exciting.
mhm.
Big
uh,
upgrades on the setup, the overall setup. No matter how
mhm.
small the thing is or how big it is, it's always exciting. It's like ooh, it's like the shiny
Mhm.
new piece, and you
Yep.
always hope that it's like worth the investment. It's like however much money you put into it, it's like I'm really excited about this, and I hope it makes life easier, better, all of the above. So,
Yep.
super exciting.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing I wanted to make shooting a little bit easier on my end, especially trying to. I don't like guessing the yardage because my old this site was sighted in for 20, 30, 40, 50. And this summer when I was at Western Hunt Fest, I didn't compete, but I did do the just I shot on the range that was at each spot, and I would try to go out to 100, and I was like, I have no idea where to set my pin, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna send it. There was a couple of times I did hit. It was an antelope 100 and so yards away. I hit it a couple times, not even close to the vitals, but I got on the
Foam is
animal,
home.
so I was like, yes. Um, so yeah, so that's I'm super excited to just be able to be more accurate. And just I could tell by just holding it, the quality is just so much better.
Yeah,
And I believe it's all aluminum. This the old side I had was like obviously came with the bow, is all plastic.
yeah,
But it worked. It did the job for now. But so
right.
it did come with a side mount, um, which I will probably go away from. I will probably go to a Picatinny mount just because my bow. For those of you who don't know, I got a just a Bear Paradigm, and it does have the Picatinny rails. So I'm probably eventually gonna get the Picatinny mount. Try to get that as soon as possible. Because when I did put this on, uh, I could definitely feel the weight difference in my. And I set it. I have this little bow stand, and I set my bow down on my desk, and next thing you know, it started tipping over. I was like, okay. So I put. So I ended up actually putting my side my sidebar back on, and it luckily it evened out. So that was good. But yeah, I think if I put the Picatinny on, it will just balance out a little bit easier. So that'd be kind of
Yeah,
nice.
because it just sits on the front of the bow with that mount, with your old mount, right? That instead of the side mount, obviously.
Yep. So you can kind of tell right here's the Picatinny. Unfortunately, this cannot attach to my new one. This
Yeah, you'll have
Picatinny
to.
mount can. So that sucks, but it's $40 for the Picatinny mount add-on, so I'll just pay the 40 and be good. So
Yeah, it'll probably be worth it. Um,
I think so.
I mean, and it makes things easier when you're going through the woods or whatever. I mean, even for me, I use the dovetail mount,
Mhm.
so it's on the side as well. But I like that dovetail mount because it's adjustable for like your depth. If I go and do like a big tack or a long range 3D shoot or something like that, I can adjust
Mhm.
it to be able to shoot out farther or whatever, as well as being a slider. So,
Right.
but all those side component parts or whatever to the mount, those get caught on branches and like leaves and all and grass, all that stuff. So,
Right.
and its weight on that side of the bow, as little as it might be, it is weight and it adjusts your balance. And so all
Mhm.
that stuff combined, like it's like, well, even more reason to have the side mount back bar. So, or the
Right.
sidebar back bar. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think the streamlined in line with your riser as much as you can, it's totally worth it. So
Yep.
those new bows, which like I think it was from like 2 years ago on, they have the like integrated sights where it's like through the riser, especially like Matthews and Hoyt really have done that like the last 2 or 3 years. Eventually, I would love to get into having one of those because you can take, um, well, obviously you don't have any weight on the side of your
Mhm.
bow, but you can take like a dovetail mounted sight and just put those into those. And they've also made them to where you can buy it specific for Matthews or Hoyt. I forget what they call it, but it's like a pass through mount or whatever. Um, and with a new bow, that I think that's going to be my move whenever I upgrade to that is getting a sight that can go into that.
Yeah, that'd be good. I've seen those dovetail ones for the Matthews bows, and yeah, those things they're sweet. And then you can kind of off topic, but you can get those stabilizers that you can like
Adjust.
adjust. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Adjust back or
Hmm.
forward. Try to and just figure out what feels good and what I guess depending on what hunt you do. So.
Yeah. Like you can buy the longer bar and
Mhm.
put it, I mean, I don't know how far in it goes, but like you can have like a 12-inch bar and push it into like I think 10 to 8 inches.
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, I want 12 inches when I'm shooting in like a 3D shoot. And then, well, when I'm up in a tree, I want that thing pushed back. And instead of having to have two stabilizers, you can just adjust the length of it back in. Um,
Right.
so that streamlined, and again, it's weight that's not off to the side. I mean, stabilizers obviously they're already in line, but it's just so much more simple. And
Mhm.
with that, the noise, having that stabilizer integrated into the bow, it cuts noise a lot. I don't obviously
Mhm.
know any of the numbers, but like people say it is much quieter when you have those stabilizers that are mounted like into the bow as opposed to what probably you and I both have, the screw in, and they've got all
Mhm.
sorts of different attachment points. That's just more chances for it to rattle a little bit. I mean,
Right.
I feel like stabilizer technology is at a point where I mean, it's good, and they have all the sound dampening technology that they can have, but
Mhm.
it can always be better. And I feel like a lot of the like Matthews did a really good job um, finding another way to cut noise. We talked about it with like the limbs and stuff like that on their bows,
Right.
but doing it with the stabilizer too, it all helps.
Oh, 100%. So,
So
what I guess did we talk about your did you have a 3-pin slider as well, right? We talked about
yeah,
that or no?
I think it's actually a 4-pin slider.
Four
I
pin.
didn't I Yeah, I didn't talk about it. In the gear talk, but it's red line. I forget which one. I think it's like RL3 or RL4.
Okay.
But it's yeah, it's a 4-pin slider. I think the first three pins are like the point 0.1 or 0.019, and then the bottom one is like 0.010.
Okay.
So a little bit smaller for those longer distance shots, having a smaller pin. Um, I like having that just for all sorts of different purposes.
Hmm.
Like I said, I do 3D shoots. I obviously hunt in the whitetail woods, but
Hmm.
any other time that I want to go try something new, I don't feel the need to have to go buy a different site or something to be able to accommodate for a different hunting style.
Right.
So, like I said, the dovetail mount adjustable in and out, like depth from the bow, and then also having a slider up and down, being able to have the potential for a longer range shoot, whatever that might be.
Mhm.
Typically, for me right now, it's really only going to be like TAC events or, you know, long range 3D events.
Right.
Maybe eventually if I get into maybe some more elk hunting in the future, Colorado, hopefully
Hmm.
uh dad up in Wyoming, go out there, something like that, be able to use that site for those purposes too. But
Yep.
Redline,
Oh, sorry.
I forget which one I had before, but Redline is a really good bow site. That's all I had.
Speaking of Wyoming. Today is the last day to buy a preference point in Wyoming for this year. Just
Oh,
I got that on Go Hunt notification on my phone.
oh,
So
there you
you
go.
said Wyoming, and I was like, oh, I just thought of that. So
Yeah, I might need to get on there. I haven't put in preference points in if ever. It's been a long time if I have.
I think it's
So
52 for an elk. Like 52 for an elk. I think I don't quote me on this. If someone freaking comments, oh, that's the wrong price, whatever. I think it's like 41 for a deer, and then like 35 for an antelope, and then moose is like 150, bighorns 150, something like that. Just for a preference point. Wild.
right.
I mean, it's not obviously that's non-resident prices, but still,
Yeah. Hey, gotta feed the people of Wyoming somehow.
gotta all
As if
700,000 of them.
as if they need our help.
Yeah,
All
they
that
don't need our help.
all that
They're
coal and natural gas money. I'm sure they're not hurting.
no, I think they're fine. Well, I mean, we got those. I think the fires are almost out up in Sheridan or in the Bighorns right now.
Mm.
Um, I would have to look. I'm not 100% sure, but
Yeah, they
uh,
had a crazy year of fires this year.
sucked. But
Hmm.
anyways, so yeah. So you have Redline. I have. Wait, I say that right, right?
Yep.
Yep, you got Redline. I got Trophy Ridge.
Yeah.
Sliders, it's the way to go. Tanner's got a one pin slider. He's a weirdo, but just
Yeah. I forget what brand his is, but um,
no,
yeah,
he likes it.
for
Um,
sure.
so, anyways, I guess we could move on to another topic.
Yeah.
Is um, I guess we could go into stabilizers a little bit. We kind of
Yeah.
did earlier, but um, I personally have the Trophy Ridge. I just wanted to keep Trophy Ridge, just keep it flush with the bow. Um, Trophy Ridge, I got a 10-inch front and then 8-inch side. I think these are the ounces, the little
The weights.
dampener. I
Yeah.
think,
Oh,
are these
yeah.
the weights or the dampener?
I can't tell. Are
So
they're like rubbery?
yeah, I think it's
Yeah, I
the
don't know.
dampener.
Yeah.
Anyways, the back one, I lost it in the Elkwoods. So I was like, come on,
Oh,
seriously?
it's like a cap, like
Yeah,
to keep them. Okay, so yeah, it's probably like a dampener and cap hybrid.
yeah. So I think it's that. So I think, but I tried to find a replacement on Trophy Ridge's website. Nothing. I'm like, okay.
Dang.
So because they easily, for some reason, easily just came off, and I was like, oh, that sucks. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna go back out there and try to find it.
No. Talk about a
um,
needle in a haystack.
yeah. So yeah, I got a 10-inch front and then an 8-inch side. I'm just toying with it right now. I don't know if this will be my final setup or anything. I could go to a 12 in the front, 10 in the back. I don't know if you could go 12 in the front, 8 in the back, or 8 on the side, whatever you want to say. Um, so that's kind of my setup right now. I'm just toying where I also want the side slash back bar to be. Like, do I want it here? Do I want it up more, down, out more? I don't know. I'm still
Yeah.
toying with it. So there's so many stabilizers out there. The one like we mentioned that Matthews made, um, and the dovetail, and then I've seen the stabilizer that's also a why am I blanking the name right now? Uh, a quiver. I've seen
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
the quivalizer.
The equivalizer. We were talking.
Yeah.
Weren't we talking about that last episode? I think.
It's either that or the one that I forgot to hit record on with you and I.
Oh, it might be that one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like we were kind of talking about how much of a sail in the wind it could be.
Yep.
Um, it is a good idea. I would have to try it out first before anything. Um, uh, but yeah, I could definitely see how it's a sail in the wind just because of how big it is and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it makes sense, makes it easier because you at the end of the day, like your arrow's here, and it just be grab, boom, instead of here and boom
Yeah.
or boom, boom, whatever. However you
You
but
don't gotta
knock your arrow.
finagle it around the bow. Basically, like you just kind of pull it out and
Correct.
lift it straight into your string.
Exactly. Then I
That part of it for
see,
sure would be easy.
yeah. Well, then I seen the ones that has this like little V right here, and it's supposed to like
Uh-huh.
whenever you're like walking or whatever, it's
Yeah.
supposed to like help you rest your arm when walking and make it just so you're not getting fatigued
Swinging
as
your bow
easily.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. I've
I
seen
don't know
that. I
what that
thought that
one's
was
called.
kind
I've
of
seen
cool.
it.
Hmm?
I said I don't know what that one's called, but I've seen it advertised or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, stabilizer wise, like what you said you run a 12-inch on the front and 10 on
yep.
10 on the side.
Yep. Yeah, 12 on the front. That one is a Matthews.
Hmm.
Just whenever I bought the bow, it was like, well, what else do you want to buy that's Matthews? It's like, okay, I bought the quiver and then I bought the stabilizer, and the drop away rest. But yeah, so I just bought the Matthews one. Probably if I were to do it again, whenever I'm buying another bow, like if I buy a flagship from a Matthews dealer or whatever, I'm probably not gonna go with a Matthews stabilizer. I mean, I may if it's something where, if I go with Matthews and they still have that technology, which I don't see why they wouldn't still have that technology with the stabilizers integrated into the bow.
Right.
Um, I think that is just a really good idea. It would change how I film right now, but by that point, hopefully I'm filming it differently anyways. Having my phone mounted to my stabilizer out in front, I don't think
Right.
it would work the same way. I would have to buy a different attachment or something if I wanted to do it kind of a similar way,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, what I have right now is just the Matthews 12-inch regular old. It's just like yours, but Matthews brand. And then on the back, it is a 10-inch. I believe it's Bee Stinger. I just went with kind of something quality, but not super expensive. Also not the cheapest. Has lots of different weights. Like it's very adjustable for the weights. So I didn't really do a ton of research on my stabilizers, but looking back, maybe I probably should have, because there's a lot of different aspects to it that I definitely overlooked, and it's just like, well, you need weight there, or like you want weight there, and so it's like, well, yeah, but there's like more specifics to it. Like there's a lot of more qualities to it that if you overlook them maybe it could be a difference maker on a couple small factors, which small factors can become pretty big before you know it. Um, so you chose Trophy Line because you wanted to keep Trophy Line on everything,
Trophy Ridge.
or Trophy Ridge, not Trophy Line, Trophy Ridge. My
I'm
bad.
thinking of red line and trophy.
Yeah, just mush for brains over here.
Merp.
Um,
It's okay.
but yeah, if you hadn't gone with Trophy Ridge, would you have gone like what would you have gone with? And like did you do much research for your stabilizers?
I don't know what I would have gone with. I
Hmm.
did a little research, but I saw Trophy Ridges. I've seen them at Cabela's, Bass Pro, and I just thought I'm like, if I got a bare bow, like I might as well just get a Trophy Ridge stabilizer, just try to keep it in the same family
Yeah.
essentially. Uh, and then I know if whenever I get a flagship, I mean I could get the Bear flagship for if because they just came out with a 33 axle flagship, but I'm kind of interested in it. But also at the same time, like I've heard mixed reviews on it too, so it's like I
Yeah.
might as well spend the extra $200 for a Hoyt or a Matthews or an Elite. So, but
Hmm.
I will say Elite's flagship this year is like it's only like a 30. They're mostly going after whitetail hunters this year, so
Mm.
I probably won't get Elite unless it's. I did like last year's, but I don't know. I gotta shoot them, kind of like I said last episode. Gotta shoot them
Yeah.
first. But so yeah, that's the only reason why I chose Trophy Ridge is just because it went with bear archery and that's
Yeah.
I thought it looked good, so just went with it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll dive down that rabbit hole sooner or later. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's not as deep of a one as a lot of other aspects to it, but
Mm.
um remind me, I want to come back to talking about bows and choosing a bow.
Okay.
I feel like we can dive a little bit deeper into that today. Um, but last quick note, unless something else comes up with it on stabilizers. The research I did after I purchased my stabilizers, um, I mean, it's not saying this is the gospel, this is the way you have to do it, but I figured it was kind of a good idea, uh, looking into the technology that people are using on their stabilizers, what materials they're using,
Hmm.
having a very light actual bar, so like a carbon fiber, very light but sturdy, like not gonna break, not flimsy, but a sturdy
Right.
material, but it's lightweight. Carbon fibers, like your typical one like that, and smaller.
Hmm.
Obviously, wind drag, all that good stuff. But and then you have all of your weight at the end, and so having like a tungsten or like a really heavy weight at the far end.
Yeah.
Um, Doing it having a stabilizer with those materials can make it to where you don't need as long of a bar and you just put more weight on your front with a heavier like a tungsten or something where you only need like one or two weights and you just put it all on the front, and that way it's not like the whole bar is the weight and then you just have a little bit extra on the end, and
Right.
you feel the weight there. So I think, if I were to do more research, and if I don't go with Matthews stabilizers, I feel like I'm a Matthews guy. I feel like I'm probably
Hmm.
gonna stick with them. My next bow I go with, but if I don't go with something integrated like that, I might go a little bit deeper dive into which stabilizers are, I might spend some money there too on you know, a good carbon fiber material with a heavy weight system, to
Hmm.
have the bar be light, but the weights at the end be heavy. So then I don't know. I just feel like that's the purpose you want out of your stabilizers, to have the weight out in front of the bow, so it's not sitting right there on your in line with your bow right there. So
Right.
um, getting the weight out from the bow, spread out that center of gravity, a little bit better. I think that's the big point that I would look at if I were to, if I were to do it again. That's probably where I would go. And then
Hmm.
look moving forward. That's probably, if I like I said, if I don't use an integrated stabilizer system, that's the way I'm gonna look. So
Yeah. Might as well try it all.
yeah.
Try to figure out
Um,
what works.
I mean, the less important, like I said, last episode, less important than broadheads. Like I'm willing to spend a lot of pennies on a really good solid broadhead, well built
Sure.
broadhead. Stabilizers, not so much. That's not really on my list of very important things. So you know spend some money on it if it's something that I at that point I deem is really worth it. But you know
Yeah.
have something that is lightweight or it doesn't add a ton of weight, and then you get your weight on the front of the bar. I think that's the only really important thing. I mean, you want your bow to be kind of as light as possible, and I guess that's another aspect to it, where if the total bar weight isn't up there, but you have the weight on the front to adjust your center of gravity, then
Hmm.
I think that's where you need to look. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, you want to get into the bow buying process.
Sure. Let's do it.
So I think, I didn't do it. And this is, I guess, hypocritical of me to say, oh, you need to do it, or like other people, you all need to do it. I didn't do it. So I will say I will give it a try if I can on the next bow purchase of mine. Um, Going to a bow shop that offers almost every brand, especially like all the big name brands, your
Hmm.
Matthews, Hoyt, Bear, PSE, Elite, Bowtech. Like go to a place that has four or five of them,
Hmm.
and like when you walk in the door, just say, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna be that guy, but I want." you know, for you, you're gonna be like, I want the longer axle to axle of each of them. If they
Mhm.
offer two different axle to axle lengths,
Right.
you're gonna say, I want this axle to axle length, or thereabouts,
Mhm.
and I want to shoot each of them, like 5 times, and then I want to go through five with with Matthews, five with Hoyt, like all the way down, and then be like, okay, I'm gonna eliminate two off the top, and then I'm gonna have three bows to choose from. I'm gonna shoot two of each, and then you know
Mhm.
you're gonna have this list in your head of things that are super important to you. Like how
Right.
is the draw cycle? Is it a smooth draw cycle? Is it a heavy start, a smooth midway, and then a hard back wall, a softer back wall,
Mhm.
all those different things. Like, how does it feel in your hand? Because you're not going to set it up with a stabilizer and quiver and all that stuff. You're going to go in and you're going to shoot a bare bow. And
Mhm.
so, bare bones, all you're doing is drawing and pulling off on whatever arrow. It doesn't even matter what arrow you're shooting. You're just seeing how the bow shoots.
Mhm.
Like, how does that bow feel in your hand when you're shooting?
Mhm.
People say dead in the hand. Like a lot of times people say Matthews, like when it goes off, like you don't hardly feel it. And a lot of
Right.
the newer bows, like you're gonna get that out of them. So it's
Mhm.
like, just have your list of things like actual physical weight. Like, does it feel heavy to kind of lift it up, drag it around, whatever?
Mhm.
And it's gonna be hard to simulate in a bow shop, but it's like, if you're hiking tens of miles a day and you got this kind of heavy bow, bare bones, and you don't have any of your other stuff on it, well, that might play a pretty big part depending on who you are.
Right.
And so, uh, yeah, going in with your list of absolutes, like it has to be this. I really need that. I can kind of give when it comes to another thing, but shooting all of them and then kind of knocking them down. The guy that I kind of stole this from or saw it on YouTube, Podium Archer. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
you've, yeah,
I've watched him. Yeah.
MFJJ. Yeah,
Yep. He's a
he's
good watch.
yeah, I mean, he's opinionated, but he's been in the archery world for a long time, and he
Mhm.
knows his stuff for sure.
Yep.
So, um,
He
you
gives
know,
out a lot of like good information for
oh
free
yeah,
too. Like
oh
it's
yeah,
he's very smart.
yeah. I was just listening to, I think it was his latest podcast with, oh, Connors is I forget his first name, but they do the fireside chat. Tim Connors. They do a fireside chat or whatever, and it comes out every Monday. And he was talking, you know, his goal with his YouTube, MFJJ. His goal with his YouTube is to be like, I want to spread the like archery. I want to spread it to everyone, and I don't want it to like I don't want to be a gatekeeper of
Mhm.
archery knowledge. And he's like, so I want to like knock out all the basics, and then like have this basically library of how-tos and what to look fors on my page, and then anybody who it doesn't matter if you're the very first time ever holding a bow or you've been doing it for 10 years, you can go back and look into this library of like, how do I do this? Never done this before. How do I do it myself? And then he's like, then as the years go on, if technology advances, he can just make a new video being like, well, when it comes to Matthews and this system with their cams, because I mean every uh bow company is going to come up with like a new cam technology or risers or
Right.
limbs, or so it's like, how do you adjust with these things if it's a
Mhm.
brand new technology never come out before? It's like, okay, well, this is how you do it with this. And so then he would eventually have this library of like total knowledge. And anyways, all that to say, he is very knowledgeable, and that's who I got the bow buying process from. And I think it's genius. I don't think really anybody should do it any other way, especially if you're going in and you don't have a sponsorship or a
Right.
loyalty to any company. It's like, why would you not shoot the bow that feels the best to you?
Right. Exactly.
So,
That's that's kind of like that's the exact kind of thought process I was thinking of doing whenever I go and get a flagship myself.
yep.
Um, Yeah, I mean, when I bought my bear, it was just, hey, I some dude on YouTube had a 20% discount code for bear archery, and I've heard bears were good like starter bows,
Hmm.
and I found the paradigm. I could order it online. I didn't have to go into a bow shop, and I ordered it, and it was like 550 or whatever, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I wish I probably would have shot a couple before I bought, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not. I've gotten I've gotten better with shooting this bow as the more I practice too.
Hmm.
So there's definitely like a couple things. It definitely kind of has a hard back wall, and I'll get like right here, and it's just like a jerk kind of
Hmm.
thing. I don't like that, especially because like I mean, for doesn't matter if you're hunting whitetail, elk, moose, deer. Like you want to be as smooth as possible
Yeah.
and quiet as possible. So that's
Right.
definitely one thing is just the back wall. Just be just a little more softer,
Yeah.
just a little
Like
bit
smooth getting into it.
smoother, I should say. Yeah.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think yeah that process is like that's that's money. And like you said, like I haven't gone through that process yet, but it makes total sense. It's like us like be if you're a hitter in baseball and you're trying to figure out a bat you want, and it's a you've tried to figure out, oh, do I want a 273 model? Do I want a 243 model? Do I want a what's like 189 or 111? Wow,
Yeah.
shoot, man, I don't. There's so many damn models now
Yeah.
these days.
Do you want Louisville
But
Slugger? Do you want Marucci? Do you want like
right,
you have
you,
so much to mess with?
you can go all day with choosing, trying to figure out what kind of bat you want. So it's kind of the same process, or glove as well. But it's kind of the same
Hmm.
process when picking the right bow.
For
And
sure.
I know, I mean, I really like the Hoyts. I really like how they look.
Yep.
I've heard great things about them, and I know I'm gonna go into wherever bow shop I decide to go to, and I'm gonna have to force myself to be open about everything
Yeah.
and not try to just stick to Hoyt. And
Right.
I don't. I mean, I like. They're all great bows. I'm not saying Hoyt's the best, but in my eyes, I think, oh, I could see myself shooting a Hoyt in a way.
Yeah.
So, or I might go with the Bear flagship. Who knows?
Yeah. I
They
think it'd be awesome if you walked in and be like, okay, I'm down to these two or three. Like,
mhm,
I'm gonna close my eyes. I want you as like the bow shop owner or whatever, whoever's helping me buy this bow. I'm gonna close my eyes. I want you to put it in my hand, put my release on the string. I'm gonna draw it back, and I want
mhm.
you to like make sure I'm not pointed at the wall or other people or whatever. Like I that's the way I want to do it so I can feel it without looking at it so I don't have any prejudice. And then
Mhm.
I want you to do that for me for like four shots, two of each, and I will be able to make a decision from there.
Yeah,
Like I think that would be I'm sure they would let you do it as long as it was like, okay, we're only 10 yards, 15
right.
yards, and trust me, I'm not going to shoot until you tell me.
You
But
send
like
one into the ceiling, like, oh
yeah.
crap, whoops.
Like, am I lined up all right? No, you're a little bit off. Okay.
Sky
But
draw, calm down.
yeah, but to be able to do that, I think would actually be like really beneficial because you take your visual perception out of it,
Mhm.
that sensory, because I mean, you're having all your senses in making that decision. To take one out, they always say it heightens your other one, so then you actually like
Right.
focus on how something is feeling going through
Mhm.
the draw cycle, the hold,
Right.
things like that. So
Yep. Yeah, because you want to make sure it feels good.
yeah.
That's the most important thing. And obviously, you want it to look good too. You want to have something that like looks really good
Yep.
and you're confident in.
Hmm.
Um, like when I bought this bear, like I wasn't sure. I was like, it's a 33 axle axle. It can go out to 32 draw length. Like I think I'm like a 30 31. I got to double check. So that's originally why I got it is because I
Hmm.
knew I was like because I saw the other bows like the whitetail or the Alaskan and they only went out to like 30 30 and a half and I was like I don't
Yeah.
want to mess this up. But I probably should have just gone into a bow shop, but yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
Hey, as
Um,
a beginner, I mean, those mid middle of the road bows, like especially bear, they're really good for like beginners. You're not sure if you really want to get into it, 500 bucks is 500 bucks. Yeah, it's an investment, but y- you're not spending 1200 bucks to like, oh, I'm gonna take a risk on it. But
mhm,
you know, you don't need the like anxiety of going into a bow shop. You've never even been into a bow shop before, and it's like you go in, it's like, I don't know what I'm looking for, I don't know what I'm doing, whatever. Like to be able to go online and be like, okay, this has a ton of good reviews. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on it. I can
yep,
ship it to my door, and then I can go into an archery shop and have them help me set it up or whatever. Then
right.
a little bit less anxiety. It's like, okay, I have what I have. I'm not looking for anything else. Just help me get it set up.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah, I will say the bow shop I did take it to, they were kind of iffy about me bringing in an outside bow.
yeah,
I could. They obviously they're willing to help me and get it right for me and stuff like that, which I was very appreciative of. But I could just sense they were like, "Oh, you're another one of those," kind of thing,
yeah,
which I was like, whatever. I had my one of the guys I met at Western Hunt Fest was there anyway, so he helped me out a little bit more, so that was nice.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like, uh, dude, there's there's so many cool bows out there,
yeah,
and just they're all really good, and they're just it's just what it goes by feel, like whatever feels good in your hand,
yeah.
type of thing.
And the looks thing too. I mean, look good, feel good, play good, shoot good,
Hmm.
whatever. I think that's something I has been progressing more and more over the years is like the color options. Like if you're gonna build a bow, like a fully custom bow, like you can make it whatever color scheme like that you want. You can have like your lens be one color, like a camo pattern, and then your
Hmm.
riser be a solid color, and then whatever. Like you can make it as customizable as you want. So it's and same with your strings. Like you can be like, I want
Hmm.
like these two colors in my strings, and it can be exactly the bow you want, and you can be really confident with it going into the field.
Hmm. Oh,
So
exactly.
I feel like that's a pretty cool part of it too.
Yeah, yeah. That man, it's freaking. I never knew how cool or cool. I guess how much fun shooting a bow was until I actually picked one up, and then
Yeah.
I started shooting more and more, and then I went, and I'm like, well, looks like I'm hooked forever. Crap. So,
Yep.
um, so is that all you want to go over for trying to like choose a bow? Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's the big stuff is, go in. I mean, obviously, if you have a budget, you have a budget, and
Oh yeah,
if
that's a
if
big
it's
one.
not if it's not flagship budget, it's the step below. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so be it. But I still think you should, or go. You don't need the most brand new flagship bow. Like, go in and see if they have one from last year's or 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and be like, okay, like I want the flagship from 2 years ago because now it's more affordable for me.
Right.
Like I want to go through that same process, but be like, okay, I don't have the $1,500 budget. I got the $1,000 budget or whatever
Hmm.
it might be. Like, go in with all those laid out and just be like, these are my parameters. This is what I'm looking for.
Hmm.
And you can probably tell a guy at a bow shop, hey, I'm looking for something with like a really firm back wall. And they'll be like, okay, whatever, like this brand and this brand have a really like loose back wall. Like once you get to that back wall, it has some extra give. If that's something that's important to you, like those guys know those things. And they'll be like,
Oh yeah.
I'm not even gonna put that bow in front of you. So like your list just went from 5 to 3 without even having to shoot a bow because like that shop owner is just gonna say, I already know that that's not gonna fit you. Like that,
Right.
this does what you don't want it to do,
Right.
or something like that. I keep bringing up back walls. I don't know why. That's the thing that's just in my head. I don't know. If the draw cycle isn't smooth enough for it, like,
Right.
9 out of 10 people say this Baran's draw cycle isn't very smooth. Okay, I'm just not even gonna present it to you because I know it's not a smooth draw cycle, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
um, no, I think that's it on the bow buying process. So,
I
um,
will say I did. Was it right? Or yeah, a month ago, right before I went out elk hunting. I went into Shields. Oh no, it was in the middle of my elk hunting season. Because we went 511, and then I had to work during a couple days during that week. Still went up to 511 at night, just because it's only like an hour 15 for me, so it wasn't too far of a drive. But then the next day we went up to Western Slope of Colorado to hunt over there in 61, or no, not 61, 62. 61's like 18 preference points. Um, but I stopped at Shields and they had an RX-7, the not the Ultra, but just the regular RX-7, last year's carbon model for Hoyt, and it was like fully built out, one pin slider, just like super nice. Had stabilizers, had the D loop, had the rest, like freaking top notch stuff. $1,200. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had $1,200, I would purchase that right now.
yeah,
But the same time I thought about it, I was like, well, I'm kind of glad I didn't have $1,200 because that would have been a very emotional purchase.
yep,
And if I did get the RX Carbon, it would have to be the Ultra, the 33 axle or the 34 axle to axle, I believe it is.
yeah,
Just because I like the bigger axle to axles. So,
yeah, yep, for sure. What what questions do you have from the gear talk? Anything that came up other than I guess things the stabilizers and stuff like that that we already talked about?
with the um, saddle, since you guys are big on saddle hunting and everything, and
Yeah.
I was trying to keep up on that, and so like I've kind of thought like so there's a hunt that I'm gonna do this year where it's a doe tag. It's technically a rifle tag, but I believe we can use a bow, um, which I gotta confirm, but I'm pretty sure we can use a bow still. But it's on my coworker's property. He backed
Hmm.
up to like 80 acres of land. He has like 1 acre, and he's got trees all around him. I was like, that'd be kind of cool to get like a saddle up on one of those trees and just hang out for the day.
Yeah.
And so I guess like if I was to get a saddle, what would be a good brand to get? Or it would do you like obviously it's a YouTube rabbit hole
Hmm.
for sure. But like in your opinion, what would be a good one to get if I decided to do that?
Yeah. So I'll kind of back step just a little bit, kind of explain more what a saddle is, and I don't have it in here with me, but you know, it is a form of a tree stand. So,
Mhm.
you have all your different types of tree stands that, you got your climber, where it's the two pieces and you just kind of like shimmy up a tree, like feet, feet, arms, and you get up and you just get to sit facing out from this tree, and that's kind of the climber idea. And then you have your more, I guess, traditional seat tree stand where however if it's climbing sticks or steps or whatever, you have whatever you use to get up the tree, then you set up this seat, and same idea as the climber where you're sitting with your back to the tree and you just get to look out from there. Obviously your ladder stand where you just big old ladder thing. Probably it's more typical on private land. You just kind of post that thing up, lean it up against a tree, and you're sitting however tall that ladder is, that's how tall you're sitting up on that tree.
Right.
Um, those are your kind of basics of a tree stand. A saddle, we use again, you can use whatever climbing method you want. We use climbing sticks, a little bit more weight than your screw ins. You can use the screw ins to climb those, but they're a
Mhm.
lot faster than your screw ins. So, using climbing sticks to get up a tree, you can use them. Now, there's a rabbit hole of the saddle world and climbing stick world. You can have multiple sticks or you can use one stick. So
Mhm.
we use multiple sticks. I haven't messed with the one stick method where you literally have one stick and a platform, and like
Right.
you're going up a tree, you're going back and like you're taking that step that you just used and bringing it back up to use it again, and then same thing on the way down.
Mhm.
It's like crazy acrobatics in a tree. But
Yeah.
we just use like three, four sticks and set them up just like a ladder, and you climb up this tree. Then you have a platform that you stand on, a little bit bigger than the length and width of your feet. And then when you're in the saddle, it's just like when you're seeing linemen on like working electric lines, power lines, stuff like that. They've got their
Oh.
or people that are working on trees, obviously. They have this saddle. It's just a safety harness
Mhm.
that's strapped to your hips, as opposed to like those other methods when you're harnessed into a tree. It's more like a backpack strap style harness that hooks to like the back of your back. So
Gotcha.
you have this saddle, it's up on your hips, and it has this rope that comes together um, and it connects hip to hip, and then it meets in the middle, this rope, and then you have a tether that you take this tether, you have it roped around this tree, and it has this rope connecting you to the tree, and you're facing the tree. So
Mhm.
you're set up basically opposite of the way that you would be any of those other methods.
Mhm.
So that's, I guess, the cut and dry basics of what is a saddle, and kind of how you're using it. Like we said before, there's so many other like accessories that you can have and things like that, but that's the basics of what a saddle is and
Mhm.
kind of how you are using it. So, now to answer your question, what brand, and whatever, they're all basically gonna look the same.
Mhm.
Where there's a couple like they just it's more cosmetic as opposed to function. They look a
Gotcha.
little bit different, but they're all going to be set up basically the same, where they have like a couple different uh loops on the front at your hips. One is
Mhm.
for your lineman's rope, where you're using that rope to climb the tree, and then one rope that connects your tether when you get to your final position. So they're all going to look the same. They all function the same pretty much. Um, Honestly, if you're a guy who is wanting to more or less experiment with it, try it out. Maybe go with like the cheapest one you can find, because they're not cheap.
Right.
You're not going to find like a $20 saddle. You're like
Yeah.
every brand is going to be, I don't want to throw out a number and have it be totally off, but say it's $100 like range, they're
Mhm.
all going to be within that range. So if you can save $20 by going with brand A versus brand B, go with
Mhm.
it. Because if you don't like it, throw it on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody's going to probably buy it because it's becoming a really popular thing again. This is something that it dated way back, and it kind of like fell under into the cracks because it's like, well, it's kind of like weird that people are sitting in a tree and like swinging in the saddle as opposed to just sitting in a chair. Like, why wouldn't we just want to sit and it's comfortable. It's maybe not as comfortable as sitting in a chair with like a pad and all that, but you
Right.
know, you can make it as comfortable as you want. But
Mhm.
um, I really like Tethered. They have a bunch of different models, and I feel like they have done a better job in recent years of having multiple price points, kind of like a flagship bow and like your middle of the road bow and your budget
Mhm.
bow. They kind of have like a flagship saddle, a middle of the range saddle, and like your bare bones, cheap, affordable saddle.
Mhm.
I would say I'm not trying to be like a brandist, but I really like Tethered. They all have all the accessories, but they are really reliable. They're the one I know the most about. I would go with Tethered. Um, Latitude is another company that is kind of like higher end, like high quality materials and all that. I haven't used them, haven't sat in them, but I've heard a lot of really good reviews about them. So
Okay.
I would say it's kind of between those guys, Tethered and Latitude. Um,
Okay.
like I said, Tethered has like a budget range.
Mhm.
I just saw one. It was funny. I just saw one on Marketplace, I think, or one of my Facebook groups that I'm in. Somebody listed like the budget one, and I was like, dang, if I would have just gotten started, I would have loved to have
Mhm.
seen that because that was the one. Like when I was first looking at getting it myself, I ended up getting mine for Christmas. Very, very lucky. My at the time she was just my girlfriend, but now my wife. She got it
Mhm.
for me for Christmas. I was like, "You did what? Holy crap!" Like, yeah, I'm gonna marry you. Not just
Yeah.
because of that, but like even
Right.
more reason to marry you. But no, like when I was looking, I was like, I mean, it's a quality saddle. John Eberhart, he's kind of like the grandfather, godfather of saddle hunting. It was like his brand or whatever, his model through Tethered. So, um, if you can find one of those, I think they
Mhm.
still offer them on their website, so it's not like a hidden gem. But I
Right.
would say I think that's at the time it was their most affordable one.
Mhm.
You're going to get everything you need out of it. Basic materials, but still quality. Um, I would say look for that one.
Okay.
But
Cool.
that and like you said, it's another rabbit hole. I think the bigger rabbit hole is when it comes to your climbing method.
Mm.
The one stick versus the four stick or whatever.
Right.
Um, it depends on how acrobatic you want to get in a tree. Um,
CrossFit into a tree.
Basically, I mean, these dudes, I was watching, I was like, well, it would make it three sticks lighter, and you can use any stick you want, like a single stick and a platform that cuts the weight like almost in half, like more than in half on
Hmm.
those materials. And it's like, if I've got a long day, like a long hike in and long hike out or whatever, that might be worth it. And then I started
Yeah.
watching these guys, I'm like, I need to get like comfortable actually climbing a tree before I decide I need to be like upside down in this tree
Right.
trying to grab my stick. I mean, they're not fully upside down, but they're like totally leaned over, unlatching what they just did to like
Yeah.
bring their step up. And it's like, you guys are freaking nuts. I'm not doing that.
That's yeah. I'm sure they're freaking super athletic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're not the 400 pounders that are
Oh no.
those
Yeah.
those
I
guys
was.
tend to stick to like ground blinds and
Yeah, the 400
shoot
pounders
houses
might
and things like that.
the tree might fall over. So
Yeah, I think I mean I think they do have weight limits on some of those
I was gonna
saddle
say,
setups.
I'm
I think they
sure you
do.
have to.
They do make an XL, but I think again they make it to where it holds a little bit more weight. But I
What
might be
is
wrong. But
what's your weight limit?
oh, I think it's like 250, 300, something like that.
Oh, okay. That's
So
then
I'm
okay.
yeah, no, you'd be fine.
Yeah, I'd be fine.
Yep. Um, any other questions from on saddles first, and then other questions from Gear Talk?
Uh, I don't think on saddles. At
Yeah,
least not right now. Gonna have to get down that rabbit hole to figure out some more questions for sure.
yeah.
Uh,
I would love for you to get out here and try one of ours,
yeah.
Tanner's or mine, before you go out and buy it. I think that'd be just like
Hmm.
beneficial for that. But
I
you
agree.
know, I would go for it if you want to go for it.
Hmm.
But I think it'd be sweet if you could try it first.
Oh yeah,
Because
I agree.
it's a different experience. You've never like been in a tree stand, have you?
No, I have not. I've helped my buddy set up a tree stand,
Yeah.
but I've never been in a tree stand.
Yeah, that's that was the same boat Tanner was in, and it's it's different. Like you get up there, you're not afraid. Are you afraid of heights?
Eh, depends.
If it's high enough, you're afraid of it, huh?
Yeah, if it's high enough.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a little bit sketchy. I mean, I side story, I got up in a tree. Well, actually, I climbed three trees in one afternoon, and it
Hmm.
was like the second, maybe second and a half week of the season. So, I mean, it's still warm now, but it was like hot, like 90s almost. And so
Right.
I get to this tree. I'm two sticks up and setting up my third stick, and I go and I like push the stick up against the tree, and it makes this like hollow thunk. I was like, what the heck? And it looked like a good tree to me. And so
Yeah.
then I'm like, what the heck? And so I like knock on it, and it's like hollow. And then I look, there's a bunch, like, it wasn't the first two steps. But then like I get to this third step and there's just a bunch of like bugs eat they ate this tree out. And so I'm like, I
Oh,
am not
jeez.
sticking in this tree. So I'm
Nope.
like, well, getting down from that one. So I get down, I'm like, man, but I really like that area that I was over. Find another tree that's like again, shooting lanes are so hard to find. It's like find another
Hmm.
shooting lane that's decent over this area that I was trying to hunt. Okay, found another one. Get three sticks up. I'm about to put my fourth stick up. Same freaking thing. I'm like, no
Jeez.
way. And so I'm like, this is not worth dying over. I'm not going to get in this tree that's going to break. So
No.
climb down, get my three sticks out of that tree, and then I finally go and find another tree that was just in a bad spot. But I was like, I don't want to look for another 45 minutes to find a tree, and then by that time be like shooting like last light, and it's like not worth it. So
Right.
I'm
That's
just
not
gonna
even
go
worth it.
sit up in a tree and just be done with it. And I didn't see anything that night. I got down early. I was like, this is just this was an awful hunt. I hated this day. I'm over it. I'm gonna try again next time. But
Didn't start
yeah.
off well. You're like, all right, screw this.
I was so excited about that. Like I e-scouted it. We've been in this area a bunch of times, and it's like, I think this is where like there's a creek. I think they're gonna cross this creek, and
Hmm.
they use this field a lot, so I think they're gonna come this way into this field. I was like, all right, this is where I need to be. I couldn't find a good tree, and it's just like, dang it, man, this sucks.
That's tough.
But yeah, so there's some sketchy parts of it, and the other part of saddle hunting, you can get into some like pretty skinny trees if you
Hmm.
want to. And I did it last year. I was in this I was in this tree that it might have been like 4 inches in diameter, but like
Jeez.
it wasn't it was so easy to climb. It was and
Huh.
it wasn't like sketchy, but it was maybe 6 inches in diameter, but still
Okay.
not a huge tree. And I get up there, I'm four sticks up, and like
Yeah.
every like little wiggle I had, the tree went I was like, oh no, this might have been a mistake. And I
What
was
am
like,
I doing?
thank goodness this tree isn't dead because it probably would have broke, and, and I would have been on the ground.
Yeah,
So,
that would have
uh,
stunk.
yeah, it was exciting doing that one, but yeah, there's a lot of excitement that you can find when you're out saddle hunting.
Hmm.
But all right, so that covers saddles. What anything else you want to talk about from Gear Talk that you maybe got lost on or whatever. I think we might want to save broadheads for like a broadhead episode
Yeah, I
because
think we need to save that one. There's
there are so many broadhead types, manufacturers, brand. Like it's just like I feel like that could take an hour in itself to talk about just broadheads.
oh for sure.
So because I
Yeah.
know you were sitting there like I remember looking back and watching it and you were like. Oh my gosh, what's he talking about 3-1? What's he talking about single bevel? What's he talking
Yeah.
about sharpening with a what? Like what is this
Yeah.
guy talking about?
No, yeah, I was like
Yeah,
single bevel, single bevel. I was like,
what the hell
and
is
we're
even a
doing
bevel?
right. I was like, I had my laptop next to me. I should have just like looked it up real quick, but I was just like, I'll figure it out
We'll play along.
sooner or later. Yeah.
All right.
Um. Yeah, I think we've been going for about an hour anyways. So,
Yeah.
Um, what time is it? I got to get going here soon.
Yeah.
But
I
because
think that's
I
a
was one,
good
yeah,
stopping point.
that's a good stopping point. I agree because we can, like I kind of said before, we can. Frick, this wood desk. Um, we could get into peep sites. We could get into rests. We could get into D loop string, whatever it stands. Um, gosh, there's so much we can get into.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just looking at my bow right now, thinking of stuff we could talk about, but it's
Just on
probably
the bow
best
itself. Yeah.
we hold off until another episode. So we're not making these too long. We don't want to be
Right.
Joe Rogan out here spending 3 hours talking. Like,
Right.
so nothing against that. I enjoy listening to his podcast, but that's a
Well,
long time.
yeah, I feel like for him, like a 3 hour podcast is mostly because he brings in a guest that like for us, it's us. We're talking it's us every single time. He brings in a new guest every episode, and it's like, let's get as much information out of this person in this one episode that we can. And so it's like, I feel like 1 hour for us is kind of a sweet spot because it gives us enough time to, talk about a point or three. And, if we have some sidebars and it's like it gets kind of off track for a little bit, we can always bring it back. And like probably about an hour is probably going to be a good.
The weave. We got to talk about the
Oh,
weave.
yeah. Donald
The
Trump,
weave.
weave the
The weave.
conversation. Oh, man. But, no, so Saturday, uh, Brooks, Tanner, and I were gonna hop on a call and kind of chit chat more about the podcast and kind of where things are going.
Mhm.
But before or with all that, I'm gonna try to get this posted like tonight, uploaded and everything. Have it uploaded for Friday,
Mhm.
the first, and then we'll record the podcast on the second, and I'll try to have that up by like first thing or midnight, whatever, Monday. Try to have quick turnarounds on these things. But
Mhm.
for the listeners, watchers, listeners, whatever, however you're consuming the podcast, this is for you guys. Um, leave likes, comments, share it with your friends, family. Also leave reviews. Everybody always talks about the algorithms. We Everybody always says that when they're starting podcasts, we do it for free. For now,
Mhm.
we're not monetized, any of that stuff. We're taking time out of our day. It's entertaining for us, but it's also, it shows us what you guys want to listen to. So,
Mhm.
we can sit here and ramble and talk about what we want to talk about, but um, we'd love some feedback from listeners. Throw in some comments, what you want us to talk about. Things you agree with, disagree with, your points of views. We may not always agree, but it's always worth listening to, and maybe it leads to having a new guest on a podcast or something like that. So
Mhm.
we're always open to those things too. So yeah, likes, comments, shares, for sure, reviews. It'll get us out to more people, and I think it'll only help us find more things to talk about. It's not like I have a list that I started and shared with Brooks and Tanner. The list is already getting pretty long, but it can only get longer. I feel like that list could be infinite at some point, and we may never get to all the points, but um,
Mhm.
you know, do all those things and help the podcast grow a little bit. And um, yeah, Brooks, any closing remarks?
Um, yeah, pretty much what Justin said. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Follow on Spotify.
Yep,
Um, also, vote no on 127 for folks here in Colorado.
yep.
Um, so I actually, real quick, my boss told me that he heard a vote yes for 127 ad on the radio the other
Whoa,
day. I was like, that's the first thing. That's the first I ever heard a yes advertisement because
interesting.
all I see is no out here. Like vote no.
Right.
Even the liberal Denver Post said no. Vote
Wow.
no. I was
Hmm.
like, it's just. I mean, people.
Yeah.
You want more
Well,
mountain lion like in this freaking state? Like, come on.
yeah. Well, speaking of algorithms, it's not like your algorithm is just feeding you things you want to hear, which it typically does, But like
It does.
when you're out in public, like there is no algorithm for a billboard or signs on the side of the road, like
Yeah.
people's signs in their yards. Like
Right.
those are not based on an algorithm. Like when you're not seeing a certain thing, it's like, okay, they want it, but they don't want it that bad. So,
Right.
yeah, like you said, no on 127. This is probably, unless you catch our Monday podcast, in
Mm.
time before you go and vote, this will be our last one of promoting no on 127.
Yep. Hopefully Tuesday we'll be celebrating that
Yeah, hopefully that'd be
it was a
nice. Maybe
landslide and it was a victory for the hunting community here in Colorado. So,
we can only hope at this
yep.
point. So.
Yep.
Sweet.
So,
Well, it was a pleasure. We'll get in touch for Saturday and be on the lookout, listeners, for this episode to be up on Friday the 1st, and then our next episode will be up on Monday the 4th. So gotta get them whipped up, turned around, spit them
heck
out.
yeah.
So, all right. No promotions today. We'll do promotions on Saturday. Like, comment, subscribe, share, reviews, all the good stuff. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.
See you guys.